Okay, so as promised, here is a video with some Enchanter things. This is Temple of Droga in EOK. I'm doing this without a merc. The AAXP is better, and it just looks fancier from the player standpoint. The idea here is I'm going to use Charmed Pets to get through as much of the temple as I can. I don't know how long this video will last, but I'll keep it going for a good amount of time. Sit back, enjoy. If you don't like the music, that's too fucking bad. Impossible for me to play EQ anymore without something to listen to. So these mobs hit pretty hard. This zone is legitimately tough. They're doing solo. With a group, it's not too bad. You've got to have a good tank who knows what he's doing. But he will get face rolled on multiple mobs. Fortunately for Enchanter, it doesn't really matter. A lot of the Enchanter power comes from being able to crowd control and sort of never lose control of the situation, no matter how fucked up it gets. I will try to give notes on what exactly I'm doing here as I play. Won't be doing anything too amazing in this video. I probably won't be doing anything too amazing in any of my videos because that is not the greatest idea. So, here we go. Gonna get started. Enjoy the show, and
Gift. Gift. Haze. Gift. Gift. Haze.
So what I'm doing when I'm fighting these is I'm using Chaotic Bewildering to get twin cast procs on the NPCs I'm fighting. Any target that you mez with Chaotic Bewildering gives you a twin cast on your next two casts.
Gift.
The two biggest Enchanter nukes are Mind Thunder and Mind Cleave, although with the new EOK focus, along with Beguiler's Synergy AA, it actually becomes Gravity Twist, oddly enough. But Gravity Twist, as you can see, is not only an AE attack, it also has this massive flux thing that it does, which is really cool and makes one of my favorite spells in the game. Unfortunately, being really cool is not always good. That flux thing can really screw you over in certain situations. Another thing you notice is the dots. Mindstorm is really, really fucking powerful. It's probably one of the best dots in the game. Sorry, Necros, wait for the dot revamp. It's a good spell. I put it on almost everything. I try to center it around Gift of Mana procs. I don't have... I'm running Gina, but you can't see it. I can't put this on window capture, or else it lags the whole computer video. But every time I get a gift proc, I try to hit a Mindstorm if the target's going to live long enough, or Psycho Reinforcement if it's not.
Gift.
So got a gift proc, gonna do Psycho.
Gift.
And when doing this, I'm pretty safe most of the time. I put Knight's Endless Terror on my Charmed NPC. It's still gonna get really close to dying, but it'll last a little bit longer with those life snap procs, do a little bit more damage. Knight's Endless Terror is probably one of the coolest Enchanter spells in a long list of cool Enchanter spells. All this stuff runs, so I've got my root clicky ring up and ready to go. It's actually hotkeyed. Now that my pet is almost dead, we're going to use a neat little tool here. I'm going to use Blur to actually regen this thing to full. So we break the charm with Invis. We use Fog of Memories to make sure it's off the hate list, and it'll actually sit here in out of combat regen and get back up to full health in just a minute or two. This one seems kind of weak. There's some stronger pets deeper in Droga. And what I was saying about the XP, you'll notice 4 ability points per kill-ish, you know, without the Merc is really fantastic, which is why I do this for that one. Probably worth noting, this is on the FV server, so there's a 50% XP bonus. Also, I guess I didn't mention this before, this character is mostly TBM raid geared. She is missing a few slots, and she's got about 17,000 AAs. Most of the stuff she's missing is like combat agility and stuff. And the pet AAs. The Enchanter pet is kind of next to useless. It will tank names sort of okay, but it's really not great, and I kind of don't ever use it. Much better to grab a champion PC. I really like Droga. I've spent a fair amount of time here since expansion release. I didn't spend any time here at all during beta. I actually didn't even enter the zone. And I kind of regret that because it's been a lot of fun. The AA XP here is really fantastic. The mobs are, you know, none of them summon, none of them do any crazy stuff. The only invis mobs in the zone are the spiders. And yeah, it's just kind of a nice classic-ish dungeon crawl that's really enjoyable in my opinion. I've had a really good time grinding A's here with my guildies and my friends. So for spell rotations, generally speaking, to get those first 2 spells after a twin cast, it's Mind Sunder, Mind Cleave, in that order. Since EOK came out, that's been shooken up a little bit, but not too much. This whole gravity twist, synergy, focus thing makes things a little bit interesting. Also, Mind Scythe used to be the highest base damage nuke after Mind Cleave. It no longer is. Polyrefractive Assault is, which is kind of strange. I'm not used to doing it that way. The thing about Polyrefractive Assault and Gravity Twist, I mean, Gravity Twist obviously has the flux and a minor push. Polyrefractive Assault has the tiniest of pushes, which kind of sucks. Push is bad. You can't really see it on these smaller mobs, but like on raids, you can notice that mob getting pushed backwards, and it is kind of terrible, so I haven't really changed my spell lineup for raids. But in group content, where I don't really care about push, it's fine to use Polyrefractive or Gravity Flux. I have yet to flux a mob in Droga high enough to aggro this stuff from like the upstairs level, which you can do in some parts of this zone. Mostly it's flat, which is good. But you gotta be really careful with Gravity Flux, especially in tight areas.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my pet's about to die. I don't want my pet to die without getting the experience. So what I'm going to do is break the thing and just nuke it once. Now it's at 2% hit points and get XP for it.
Haze.
So I did get hit, I took a little bit of damage, so what I'm going to do is get myself net, put on the one-hand piercer and the shield for shield block, and just go up and heal myself with melee. These goblins here in Droga are kind of the first mobs in some time that have actually been able to just straight up break through a room in a close combat sort of situation like that. So it's somewhat of a challenge compared to other zones that we've seen in the past. A lot of that, the breaking through the rune, one of the things that makes runes so powerful is the stun component. It has a very long stun. Once a mob breaks through it, some of these goblins are not stunnable, or they resist stun. I'm not exactly sure yet. I don't pay close enough attention. Either way, they break through rune a lot faster than mobs in other zones tend to. So when I'm soloing like this, when I've got a really good high DPS group, I can kind of be lazy. I don't have to make sure that Somnolence gets on things. Cripple doesn't really matter. I don't have to use Undermining Helix. It sort of is more relaxed. You don't really have to give a shit, which is kind of nice. You're also not competing with, wizards for top DPS. Just kind of take it at your own pace. We're gonna sneak past these fucking sentries here. I'm gonna run into a spider in just a second. I hope it's a dark blue spawn so that I can charm it. The spiders here are really nice because they grouped. Or somebody could have already killed it. Either way.
Only a pair of steel gray eyes that seem to look right through me.
So yeah, as you can see, there's definitely some groups in here clearing stuff out. There's some pretty awesome... There's some pretty awesome drops here in Droga.
And sometimes snow. Goodness, how we'd like to know.
There's one of them right there. One of the EOK augments. So for anybody that's watching this to see if they'd like to get into the Enchanter class, it's worth pointing out that even though this character has a significant amount of raid gear, she's only missing a couple slots, you really don't need raid gear to do well as an Enchanter. It's kind of a class that is really powerful if you play it well. It's not really gear dependent like a melee would be. Oh, there's all that group spam. Just to give you an example, I rolled this Enchanter on Imperial Nevi really not that long ago, maybe a month. Traditionally, I'd been a test player. That's where my guild, Primal Brood, is. And that's kind of my home. And on FV, when I started up here, I was more or less naked. I did have a good friend power leveled me up to 96. Power leveled me to 96, gave me 25,000 platinum, said buy some spells and go figure your shit out. So I was able to get a couple pieces of gear so I wasn't naked. And I was able to go and sort of carve out, carve out a way to level and stuff. That being said, with the whole Mindstorm mana return nerf, it did make it much more difficult to level quickly because I was running out of mana, which is kind of a serious concern with Enchanters these days, especially in the group game. But it wasn't too bad. You don't need raid gear, you don't need rank 2s. I think a lot of people, especially here on FB, stress out too much about I need to be fully raid geared in order to play my... Well, no, you really don't. Maybe if you're not good at the class, raid gear would certainly help, but it's really not necessary to excel and progress.
Yeah. Gift. Haze.
So one of the nice things about playing an Enchanter, you don't have necessarily the raw power that some other classes might. You don't DPS like a Zerker or a Wizard. You don't get the amazing tanking ability of Plate Tank or even a Mage Pet or a Beast Lord Pet. What you do get is supreme control over whatever situation you're going into, and you can see that in that situation I got snuck up from behind. There was a fucking Goblin Cave Lord that just happened to pass by that I didn't notice. You don't really have to stress about that kind of thing. You've got enough tools to slow down whatever encounter you need to slow down in order to beat it. It's not really that uncommon to see an Enchanter whose entire group wipes, and the Enchanter is just kind of sitting there, mezzing the mobs, blurring them, and then rezzing the rest of the party back up. It's sort of what they've always done, and especially now in current content, they do it really, really well. So you might not put out the same amount of damage that a rogue would. You might not have the single target tanking ability of a paladin, or the can't heal and stuff like that. But what you do have is control, and it's something that every group needs, and it makes the class really, really, really strong just off that merit. And the nice thing about it is that if you do roll an Enchanter, there's not really something that's going to go away. I think Daybreak recognizes, for the most part, that Mez is not a bad thing. It's not an evil thing. And they haven't put a whole lot of Mez-immune mobs in EOK, which is really, really nice. Same thing with TBM. We're going to pet break and kill this. Go break the pets. One nuke, got the XP. I'm probably just going to blur this Cave Lord. I don't really feel like root dotting it down. Root dot nuke. So just mez it, blur it, invis, and walk the fuck away. If there is one gripe I have about Droga, I love this zone. I love how it's the old zone with new mobs. It's a great zone to begin with. If there's one gripe I do have, there's a Guilty's corpse. If there's one gripe I do have, it's that fucking spin stun. It is really obnoxious. I am sort of losing my shit every time I get hit by that. It's not fun. And every single one of them does it on the incoming. Like, I don't think I've met a goblin who does not do that yet. So you'll see me sort of switching back and forth between a two-hand blunt staff and a one-hand piercer and a shield. Most experienced casters know that the triple sympathetic proc raid staff is sort of the DPS button, whereas the one-hand piercer and the shield are for when you're getting hit. Staff block is nerfed. It was nerfed into the ground. It's next to useless now. It blocks nothing. So when I'm getting hit up in the face and I know I'm going to have to take a few rounds of damage, I will swap to the shield.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's another Cave Lord pathing up behind me. I don't know where these keep coming from. But again, not a problem, Mez.
Hey. Yeah.
So when I first decided to do this video after I finished the SK thing, I was kind of hoping I'd get myself into a really shitty situation to just sort of show that whole control thing when it comes to the Enchanter class. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened yet. I might just have to create a shitty situation for myself.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So we're gonna go ahead and charm break on the sentry and nuke it.
Yep.
And there's the XP. Sort of done with these cave lords, so we're gonna just hit all of the things and waste his ass.
Chromatic haze. Yep. 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 Haze.
As far as Enchanter burns go, it's pretty fucking straightforward. It really doesn't change ever. When you're going it solo or in a raid, it's pretty much identical. Imp Twin Cast, IOG, Chromatic Haze, make sure Daiko's running when you do your Chromatic Haze. If you've got time, swap in Augmenting Aura, but it's really not a requirement. It absolutely will give you more damage though. And then it's just drop your absolute biggest nuke that you've got in your arsenal. It's going to be Mind Thunder. That's it. Stun is so fucking obnoxious. And then after you drop your biggest nuke, you want to do Calculated Insanity. You don't want to do Calculated Insanity first. It's a waste of the charges on that ability. After IOG fades, you hit Third Spire. There's really no point to do Third Spire and IOG at the same time. Not even in a raid. They should always follow up one after the other. I guess maybe with a mage. I don't know mage crit rate well enough to actually really authoritatively comment on that. But I know with the wizards, every time you're doing an IOG in a raid and you're in the wizard group, which you probably should be, ooh, close. The wizards are already going to be at like a 90% crit rate before you hit IOG, possibly even higher. So after you hit IOG, giving a Third Spire on top of that is really a moot point. You're just wasting crit rate.
Yeah.
Oh, look, another K-Ward coming by. Or maybe the same one, I'm really not sure.
Gift. Haze.
For now you can stay right here, we will play.
One thing to note about calculated insanity that my mana bars remind me of right now. All of the spells that you cast while under the effect of calculated insanity that eat one of its charges are cast at an increased mana cost. So you'll burn through a mana bar very quickly using that ability. You do need to be careful with how much mana you're using. On a raid, it really doesn't make much difference. I find that I almost never run out of mana on raids unless I die. And usually if I'm dead, it's because somebody else fucked up, not me. But in group content, where your mana unfortunately is a relevant resource nowadays, you do need to be careful with when you're using calculated insanity and make sure you've got some mana cooldown ready to go. Your robe works, many things work, just make sure you've got something so that you don't run dry.
Yeah. Gift. 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 Yeah. Haze.
Oh no! Well, that was almost the shitty situation I was looking for.
Gift.
Take a deeper breath and give it time. You can walk the path among the lines, but always know that you'll be safe. I'll be here throughout your days. Come find me and we will play.
Your touch took away my darkest fears and doubts.
So I'm gonna kind of just force myself into a bad situation. So I did die at the end there, which is kind of lolsy, and I didn't include it in the video because reasons. Just to kind of wrap this up, final notes. If you are interested in playing the Enchanter class, or if you are playing one and just haven't quite got the gist of it, it's really not that difficult. It's a fairly straightforward class. You just really need to remember that all of your power centers around control. So don't ever lose control of the situation, and you'll be fine. Another good thing to remember is that in order to be a good Enchanter, I just did air quotes on a fucking audio video. in order to be a good enchanter, the most important thing is situational awareness. And I think that sort of applies to anyone who wants to be a good EP player, because you need to know what the fuck is going on. Be familiar with the zones, know what abilities the mobs use, especially in EOK. And just don't get yourself into a situation where you're going in blind or you don't know what's going on. Third-person view is very helpful to make sure that you know where things are. Use your extended target window. Really basic sort of stuff. Remember that you are not a plate tank. Sometimes it seems like you are, but believe me, you're not. And yeah, just be helpful and knowledgeable and listen to the things that people tell you and get advice when you can. It's sort of the general stuff that makes anybody a good EP player. Will help you out in those regards. So, that's all I've got for this video. You can subscribe. I really don't know if I'll put more videos up or not. Recording videos is kind of a pain in the ass. Editing them is even worse. But maybe I will. There's other videos on here you can look at them. I've got a blur tricks video that's actually kind of neat for enchanters. And some other stuff that's meant to be used as an enchanter guide I have not posted anywhere publicly. So in any case, if you enjoyed this, you can feel free to watch that stuff as well. And that's all I've got for this evening. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It is Tuesday night. I hope you'll all be eating turkey on Thursday, spending time with your families, and probably playing Everquest. Alright, nerds, good night.